Hi, girls, ladies.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pretty excited, to be around these lovely wahine ladies, female, power, hosting in the WAO podcast number 5 this time. And I think I met Bridget about a week or two ago, actually in the market a month ago. And we had a lovely conversation about the importance of foods in our life and all sorts of stuff. And then I realized that those 3 ladies are doing some magic in our communities. And I felt it would be really cool to have a chat and see what we're going to find out and what we're going to talk about. So our podcast is about just being you, actually, being authentic, being vulnerable, talking about something that is important to you, to your heart, to your life. And these girls are obviously going to share with us stuff that are important to them, and I'm going to ask stuff that are, who knows what's going to be. And I'll just do a little intro. You started a journey. You have your own personal journey, of course. FLO, I know FLO from a festival that we're doing. She shows up in the event with some bands and playing music. Bridget, I haven't known before, and her daughter, Kate. And together, they also created a lovely company or organization or adventure to go together, which is around what they're all passionate about, I believe, which is food, Kai, how we nourish ourselves. Something really important in our life, because we are told to do anything but nourish ourselves with something really amazing. So the organization, company / adventure called Mārama Kai.
Yes.
Yeah, correct? Am I pronouncing that? Mārama Kai.
Yes.
Sounds good. I like that. Mārama Kai. So you'll have to talk a bit kind of closer to it. And what does that mean?
So, Flo, would you like to talk to this one? When we talk ma, I kind of like to decode words. And in Māori, we can do that. So when we look at ma means pure, and ra is light, and then ma is energy and eternal. So when we look at that together, we can look at that word and look at it being an energetic, light, enlightening. But there's also a bit of a play on words, and I'm going to hand over to Flo to let her explain that, because we went on a journey, Flo and I, with rongoa. And we had to do a business plan and lots of other things. And Flo came up with this idea. So I'll pass it to Flo.
Did you, Flo? You're so talented, multi-talented. You can just talk to the microphone without necessarily have it, but you can have it as well, so you can hear yourself too.
So I came up with the name last year during a presentation. It's a play on a few different things. So Mārama Kai is garden, or like food garden in Māori, and Mārama is enlightenment, or knowing, understanding. So this kind of all ties together. And then Mārama is the moon, and then we also say Mārama Pai, meaning like, do you understand? So Mārama Kai is kind of a play on that. It kind of loosely translates to enlightened food, food or enlightened food garden. Yeah.
That's amazing. So do you understand that you are enlightened enough to nourish yourself from the garden? So you can play around with these words in any kind of way you want. That's very cool. So Mārama Kai, there you go. Now I've learned something new as well myself. Thank you for that. So what drives us these days to do something like that? Like, why do we do that? You know? Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest things with food, food is an industry. We haven't, we've been colonised. For many years, many cultures colonised, unfortunately. And when we look at that word, decoding that word, it's colon. And its eyes, and so we've split people. We've taken them away from their real nourishment and who they are. In fact, who we are as people. So we want to enlighten people as to who they are and how they can actually nourish themselves, because not all energy comes from our food. We know that energy is information for our body. All things come in energy, light energy. So that's your food, it's your water, it's what you see, it's what you breathe, it's what you hear, it's through every orifice. And unfortunately now we're overfed and undernourished. We don't get enough nourishment in that light, and we don't see where that light comes from, or actually even give it the power of what it can do for us. So when we become aware and conscious of where we're actually getting our kai, because that word in itself, kai, is known as food, but it's actually nourishment in every way. We have many words which begin with kai, like a kaiako, who is a teacher. They give you kai of a different source, information, so that you can learn and grow and evolve, because that's who we are. We need to adapt and evolve to actually be here and live in nature and live in the light. And I mean, one of our kaiako taught us that Tane separated his parents, Ranginui and Papatūānuku, to let there be light. We're here to live in the light and be enlightened, not in the dark and the shadows. So let the light in. And that's what it comes in, is information, energy. All energy is light, information.
I love it. So basically it takes the word kai and project it into many aspects of our life. So whatever we nourish ourselves, whether it's through the brain, through the heart, through the body, what we see, what we perceive, and is to nourish ourselves, right? Whether it's information, whether it's your food, whether it's your connection through
and it's
stuff.
being aware of what this is, and we've that's what colonization is. It's actually taking us away, dividing us from that. And one of the biggest things is our ability to connect with ourself, our own microbiome, our own, essence, vital force, our own mauri. And that in itself is very important, because what we see in the world is only 10% of what is actually there. What serves us is quite alien to us. It's our biome, it's the virome, it's the mycelium, it's all of that comes together that really serves us. And quite often we're at war with it. We're anti everything. And, we need to be more encompassing, more embracing of life, all beings, because we're here to serve each other in that community. So when we're colonized, we're divided. We're fed things that aren't serving us and aren't serving our beings that are serving us, because I can actually stand here or sit here and say I am the universe, because I am the universe, my own, beings that live within and on me, serving me. So, we're just part of we're quite the potiki, actually, the youngest born of the world. We need to be aware of that and be very conscious of it.
Yeah, and that's the challenge these days, how to bring people to be aware of that. How to really connect to what you eat is what you are, and totally. How you connect to yourself beyond just the appearance of who you are, or what you feel that you perceive yourself, or how others perceive yourself. And the full acceptance of what we said now is like how we can actually look at ourselves as that universe, right? And so
I am nature, nature is me.
Yeah, exactly. And so how we bring people to feel this way, to be connected to that.
So I think a lot of it comes back to actually the key word was feeling. We've been separated from this. When we get into nature, we actually feel it. We feel that vibration. It balances us. It creates an essence within us of connection. So it goes right back to the very beginning of the wahine that Tane created, right? So he created the first woman from clay, Hineahuone. And so she was built, or, made.
That's in the Maori story of,
the culture,
beginning of
right?
Genesis, that
yes,
thing, yeah?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so when we go back through this, through the energies, and it's all through us. This is where we come from. It's the blood of Papatūānuku and Ranganui, and the way that they were separated. The way that he went to Papatūānuku's womb and created her there from her blood and from Papatūānuku and from Ranganui. And that wouldn't come together without the life force there. So the life force of the bacteria, of the virome, of the mycelium network. If we go into these things and really look at them and bringing us together, that's who we are. It's the essence of us. And that's where the light comes from, to enable that life force. If we go out, we see the sun in the morning. That's when we enliven ourselves and everything wakes up, When we sleep through that sun, we actually don't get that exposure and the activation, if you like, because 80% of your serotonin, 90% of your serotonin acts or is activated through the eyes into the gut. And that's where we make it. If we don't see the sun, if we don't expose ourselves, then we don't get that light energy and we don't activate that living through the day. And that's actually the precursor to melatonin for us to be able to sleep at night. And that's the regenerative side, So when we come back to Mārama Kai, that's a lot of our ethos. It's to weed, which is a lot about weeding, is cleansing and detoxing, and then seed, to regenerate, and then to feed, to nourish, but with conscious decisions, to really put in intention and hiha. So we talk about honesty and intent and accountability and acceptance and honour, working from these places, from within. And then we always know that we're within the right tikanga, the right way to do things.
Yeah, I wish we can always be in these places. It's very hard these days and challenging to be in these places.
We're so distracted.
Yeah, we are, right? And there is a lot of distraction around us. So how we can allow each other to have the tools to be in that sort of connection to these places and also to one another, so we can lift each other. And I definitely believe that the foundation for that is to nourish ourselves with great foods, to be able to be in that space as well. Then obviously the community support, family support, love, contact, connection. When I reflect on foods, I feel like since our brain takes most of these nutrients anyway, and our brain is obviously one of the smallest organs in terms of organ capacity in our body. Body weight, I think the brain takes about 3 or 4% of your body weight, so it's not that significant in terms of weight, but yet it takes about 60% of your food that you eat, of the consumption of all of it. So I mean, like, if it's so important for the brain and we're hardly nourishing that with micronutrients and vitamins and whatever we need to do, then it's no surprise that we have lots of stress and anxiety and mental breakdowns and mental well-being that is in deterioration. So how we can actually allow people to tap into the knowledge of this, to tap into, as you said, you mentioned seed, right? What does that mean, seed regeneration? Are we just relying on whatever is here in the supermarket and I'm just going to grab that every day? I also feel that we are in New Zealand extremely lucky to have abundance of land. And everyone that lives anywhere in New Zealand, unless you live in town and you have an apartment, you just have a piece of land in your house. You surely can grow something. And I believe that most of us don't do that. And so when we don't have access to even simple stuff, even if you only grow tomatoes or cucumber or something, even one thing, that could be an amazing difference when we start making in our communities, right? So when you say seed regeneration, is it something that you actively also doing, or is it something that you wish to activate or teach people, or all of that, all of the above? Okay, so that's great.
One of the biggest drivers for Mārama Kai was we did business plans last year, and then this was in our rongoa journey, level 5. So for our diploma, and one of the assignments was to actually do a first aid kit. So first aid kits were, not your normal first aid kit. It could be anything that you want to basically, bring.
Spiritual first aid kit. That's amazing. I think we should start adopting stuff like that. Okay.
So part of mine was to embrace everything, the biome, everything, instead of being so anti and so, getting rid of it, because we'll never get rid of it. We're getting rid of ourselves if we do this, right? The virome actually is our genomic database that helps us to adapt to who and what we are and to evolve within nature. Because when we look at nature and you talk about, what do we need? Because there's so many confusing stories out there. Should I be paleo? Should I be keto? Should I be fat-free? Should I be sugar-free? Who should I be?
Should I be just free?
Should I just be me? And
so some people are just free, and then it's also hard.
Yeah, who should I be? It's so confusing and overwhelming. In our journey, it's overwhelming. So for people that haven't done this sort of journey in health, it could be, quite daunting. And listening to people of different avenues or different levels on different levels of health is also confusing, because everybody sort of has a different story.
Yeah.
So let's go back to nature, because I am nature and nature is me. So let's just go back to that story. And when we look at nature, we are a true reflection of that. We're 80% water. So when we look at food, we need to be looking at the water content in our food and how those nutrients are coming in, because the food is the whole form. And when we look at food, how we're eating that food and how we're sourcing it. Always, we talk about organic, and it costs so much to get organic certification. But really, when we come back to the basics of organics, it's about growing food in season, because those foods deliver the nutrients that we need during that season. During winter, the sun is further away. In fact, today's our beginning of Matariki. It's the winter solstice. It's the shortest day. So now Teira will start, Hineahuone will start coming closer to us again and start warming the earth, or this side anyway, closer. And that's what it's about, bringing that in. When we look at the light forces, or how we're feeding ourselves and how that's coming about in nature now, we look at the winter, there's a lot of plants dying off. A lot of our biome starts to die off too. We're the same sort of biological structure. And when we're stressed, a lot of the stress comes from the toxic load that we're actually exposed to on a daily basis. That could be through the foods, overwhelming the body because they're out of season. When we're eating seasonal foods, like at the moment, because we don't have a lot of sun to activate the hydrogen within the water molecules, foods are more dense. So we're not getting as much hydrogen, so it doesn't need to be activated, but we do need to activate that vitamin D. So it's in a different form. Like in summer, we'll get the sweet fruits, and the sweeter, more water foods are like lettuces and cucumbers and melons and things that are full of water and the nutrients that will help us absorb those. And that's all we have to really look at. So organics isn't just about getting rid of the toxic load, because obviously they're grown without chemicals and fertilizers and things, and that's a lot of what we're about too. Being able to sow and grow without that chemical load, and being able to grow in season and eat in season, because there's a reason for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason we eat the way we do. And a lot of the reason we eat the way we do now is because of marketing.
Yeah.
When I went to school, we had 3 meals a day. We had breakfast, lunch and dinner. at morning break, we go out for a drink and to run our energy off around the field. Now children are fed snacks and they're sat at their desks and they're eating like 7 meals a day.
Yeah.
They're overfed. We don't need that much food.
Absolutely.
You know, it takes 8 hours to process a protein. People are putting protein every meal. We're just a big fermentation factory.
Yeah.
When you put that much protein in, you're creating putrefaction, you know, and then we end up with body odors and things, and then we put perfume on, which is more toxic load to hide that. And, you know, it's like, hang on, back out the bus. Let's just get back out and see that sunrise and get our real kai, right? That's so when our...
Which is in seasons, which is doing the seasons, which is organic as well. Organic means as well no fertilizers, no poison in it, and also knowing your seasons as well, what you can actually plant, what would grow best in that season.
Well, it's like everything happens for a reason. So in the wintertime, the plants that are growing are what's growing for a reason. It's what your body needs to be well in winter and be well in summer because it's what's lacking then. So, you know, you just need to follow what the earth is telling you to do.
Yeah.
Stop kind of following what we're told to do and follow nature is kind of the main
ethos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that.
It's just so important for us to live more in tune with the seasons and with cycles. Like, it's not just about eating seasonally, but understanding like the energy of the moon and the seasons that we're in and living according to that, because we're so out of touch with that. And fortunately, like doing rongoa, we got to learn so much about the moon, the marama, and how different energy periods work and how that also affects food and affects the ocean and the tides of our body, because it's like, you know, it's pulling the tides of the ocean and the tides within us because we're 80% water. And I think we need to remember that now. But
I wonder if, do they teach at school, for example, kids about the cycles, about, for example, nutrition or seasonal vegetables?
One of the things that
fruits?
we'd like to start is a new kura, a school, a nature school. It's one of our ethos, and we've put together a plan to be able to do that. We'd like to take it through schools as well. One of our biggest things is being able to get in the taiao. Taiao is our environment, and this is a little bit of what I hit on before. When we watch our environment and we observe, it's tiro, right? We observe what's happening. We observe the stars, we observe the moon, we observe the light. You know, we at Rākau Nui, which is full moon, we harvest before the sunrise. It's you know, the most potent time and we purify, we cleanse. You know why a lot of wahine get their ikura, their menstrual cycle during that time, because it's a time of cleansing. But with tikanga, we wouldn't harvest during that time because it's a time of going inside and internal nourishment. And that's a lot about weeding the body. You know, when we look at our taiao, and if we have a beautiful garden growing well, we pull some of those plants out. We leave space for weeds to grow. We want to fill that with nourishing kai, seed it. You know, and that's a lot of what it is, you know, dropping seeds worth planting so that they grow. Many people have had, through these schooling avenues, through the academia, being divided from their real brain. This is your first brain. Yeah. Your gut is your first brain. Yeah. We have a lot of, you know, nervous...
Gut feeling, no wonder that we say that as well, right? Yeah.
And we're distracted. You know, when you put... imagine if you put bread on your soil every day, is that soil going to be thriving and living? And this is a lot of what we have to realize, you know, the biome, the microbiome, we don't see it, and we don't see it. It's everywhere. It's that force of nature. It's everywhere. Within your body, within one mitochondria, there's more beings in there than there are stars in the sky in one of your cells, firing it up. You know, this is what we have to realize. We're a real reflection of this. And you know, just the salt water, and the fresh water. You know, we need to be able to have these in our body for reasons. We're quite often vilified against foods or kai that are good for us, and it separates us again and divides us from really what is good. But I say to people, you know, if you're confused, drink water, but good sources of water, spring water. I do also advocate some filtered waters, but there are lots of filters out there that aren't so good. But we really need to balance out the chlorine. You know, when we look at chlorine, what does that do when we throw chlorine in water? You know, it changes the pH. It's the portion of hydrogen. It can make it go murky. We don't want to do that in our body. Yeah, so this is a lot of what we've got to think about, just coming back to the simplicity. You know, fluoride, well, that's not even in nature.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's like Mum can join me for this one. Mum's favourite saying that she always does is, so we're a tree. How do trees thrive?
Tell me how trees thrive.
No, you can.
Sunlight, water, and food. We don't need chemicals. It doesn't need chemicals. It doesn't need hydrogen. It thrives off, you know, your rainwater and clean water. And our bodies are the exact same. Yeah. You know, you just need to kind of come back to that idea.
So I talk about us being inside out rako, which is our rako are our plants. And we're just inside out. We do everything opposite them. They are here for us. Like I said, we are the potiki of the world, the potiki, should I say. So excuse my pronunciation. But, you know, these are our seniors. We don't respect them enough. They bring so much to us. So they take in our toxic waste. We release CO2. They take it in and they turn it into O2. You know, they need the CO2. So we do that for them. It's a reciprocal cycle. We're here to share. And when we look at our rako, they show us who they are through the way that they vibrate, their energy, the shape, their form. They're shapeshifters too, you know. We all have different pieces of us, and they have to shift to the tile as well, you know, that changes, and it can be harsh, and some of them might die off, like some of us might die off. In any ecosystem, usually over a life cycle, there's a 30% die-off, and that's normal. It shouldn't be dramatized. So, you know, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but some of us are born, you know, a bit more compromised and might need support in different ways. And not always is the support there in the ways that we need it. Sometimes it's just karakia to bring us back and to align our energy and our vibration. Sometimes it is drinking the rako. We call it wairako. Yeah. Sometimes it's just touching. You know, we have some of the most ancient flora in
New Zealand.
Our flora is amazing, and we have some of the oldest biome here. So we have the best chance here to really thrive. And because we're not living, all of us, in a concrete jungle, but when we are living in that concrete jungle, let's bring us back to Mārama Kai. That's part of our ethos, is to actually change the face of urban gardening. So, you know, we have organic heritage seeds, and it gives me goosebumps when I talk about this, because we've sourced our seeds from this beautiful, beautiful wahine. She has a food forest, and she doesn't have Wi-Fi. She has a dial telephone. And she knows her food forest. She calls it her orchestra. And when a new instrument arrives, she knows she's got a new instrument and a new tune in her orchestra because she hears it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So our seeds come from Running Brook Seeds, who we source them from Stella, and she's just beautiful. And we actually want to sell them to people, and they go and they sow, and then they grow, and then they enjoy the yield, and they let it go to seed. Tāwhiri Matia will distribute some. So that's the atua of wind will distribute some of those seeds. The manu, our birds, will distribute some. And then we ask that they be sent back to us, and we'll distribute them because we want to reseed the world with heritage seeds, and particularly Aotearoa, because there's some natives that are missing, that have been destroyed along this sort of colonizational trip that we've been on it's only been for the last, how many years? Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible to restore these native?
Absolutely, but we need to do it now. We need to stop the toxic load. We need to reverse. We have the chance. Otherwise, we're exterminating ourselves. We will become extinct. Papa will kick us off. She's already starting to do that now, if you haven't noticed. So Papatūānuku will protect herself and her beings always. You know, when the dinosaur extinct, you didn't see them come back, did you?
No, only on fossil comeback.
So they went and then we came. Right, we were the next beings, and we actually were created through our most ancient pepeha is that of our microbiome. We can go back to our bacteria. But our bacteria is a single cellular organism, and it needed to expand. And the way that it expanded was to get together with the fungi, which is multicellular. But they couldn't get together because they don't have the ability. So what brings them together is the virome. It sequences things to be able to create, chains for them to get together.
The mediator.
Yeah, and we could just, be a big digestive system of a fungi, some people think. But it's that's brought us back together, and as if we go back to that oldest being, Hineahuone, the first living being, then that is how, along with the clay and the blood and the stone that created the bones and the wood that created her form, just beautiful. And it's because of that living network that's come together. And so we all come from one. We are one. We need to recognize that and come back and start embracing that. Doesn't matter. Because the sun's hotter, you might have more melanin in your skin or in your eyes. You might show, a brown eye because you've got more liver signs, or, there's so many signs out there to show us who we are. So just be. And be in nature, and you'll find out you will be, free. It's the best place you can be to thrive.
Yeah.
Barefoot, sorry. Massage Papatūānuku. She loves
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And where is all your knowledge coming from? Is it something that you just kind of learned yourself? Is it something that you kind of were interested, studied? How did you acquire?
I've always been a bit of a forest fairy.
Forest fairy. That's
playing FLO and Kay to forest fairies too, but I'm just more senior.
Forest fairies, yeah.
But I guess I was always a dreamer, as a child, and I always have loved the beach. We grew up. My whānau, my grandmother Kuia was in Whangamata. And we used to go there all the time and eat kina in the backyard under the plum tree. And so I learnt much off my grandmother, and but they weren't allowed their te reo. They weren't allowed their connection, and she didn't really give a lot to us. But I guess I've just been able to pick it up through the years. And also, so that's my Māori, and I've also got Samoan. So on my other side, on my mum's side, is Samoan, and so I really reflect that too. But in my journey in academia, I've done naturopathy, I've done a Bachelor of Health Science, I've done herbal medicine, of course, because that's my absolute love, nutrition, food science, and I've done food businesses. I've done a health shop, and then over the last few years, actually about 5 years ago, I wanted to go on a rongoa journey, and I've done quite a bit of different wānanga with different kaiako and tohunga as well. We managed to be with a very mad respect for her. She's just amazing. Tohunga last year and a little bit of the year before. And that was where I've pulled well away from academia now, and separated, decolonized myself totally.
But we can appreciate the information sometimes and whatever we can take out of everything, right? At the same time.
And it's a whole.
Yeah.
I don't ever regret any of my journey. Although that real journey in the scientific world I struggled with sometimes a lot, actually. It was sometimes a bit of rope learning because it just didn't make sense. There was no sense to it. But it opens your eyes to a different perspective, and it allows you, I think, also exercise. I always think that, we're toning ourselves in every way. Exercise in that way to really try and fit puzzles together. And if it doesn't fit, keep on your path. I've been on this path for over 30 years, and I just come back to nature now. It is where it's at. And I love just being on my own and before sunrise and with the rako, because they're my bestest friends. Sometimes the living beings aren't so nice.
Yeah, but we have some good potential as well.
We do.
Think.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
But it's true as well. I know that, but it's absolutely true as well. But I feel as well, if we can actually peel all the layers of whatever we put ourselves, the masks, the conditioning that we come up with, that we grow up with, whether it's the differences that we feel that we have between one another, whether it's based on culture or religion or whatever status of your financial.
Yeah.
When you peel all of that, we all eat the same things. We all need to have food and shelter and water and love and appreciation to be able to thrive and survive here, right? I often think of, I come from Israel originally. If I reflect on the conflict over there between Israelis and Palestinians, if only they're going to remove the imaginary concepts between them and they're just going to have falafel and Hamas, they're going to see how much in common we have between people, right? Or Maori or Pakeha or whatever. Sometimes we have all these conflicts and people and things like that, but food is such a great, beautiful connection that we can share and bring us together. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, my fond memories as a child was the big meals every Friday with my family. It was everyone comes together, 20, 30, 40 people sitting around big, massive table all day. That's amazing, and all these amazing foods and nourishments. And it was very seasonal, 30.
And those are the memories.
Yes, there are memories, but we can bring it back. I mean, like...
No, those are the memories that actually keep us going.
Yes.
These are the things in life. We're always searching. What are we here for? What's your purpose? And purpose is aroha. It's focus with that breath to be in the present moment and love. And what is love? Love is beauty. It's what you see around you. It's what you feel. And so it's not tangible. When we feel that, we're thriving and we're feeling that joy. And that's what life's about, finding that joy. Because all too often we're distracted from it. And I love that you say, these masks, because they're trying to mask us now even more. This is the last fight. The light has won. The light is here to stay. We're not going anywhere this time. And we talk about female energy, wahine energy. It's been hunted for many years, witch hunts, and through the years, and the Tohunga Suppression Act here, it all links in together to cut us from the vibrational energy that comes out, that we share, the sharing of the expression on the face, the way that we interact through our eyes to the soul. We can't mask that. You can't ever mask that. So don't. We're here to interact this way, to thrive.
Absolutely.
And to connect. And that whanaungatanga, that is what, it's not always our blood whānau that bring us these memories, but it's always those memories bringing us back together and connecting us with where we should be at any one time. We're always meant to be there for that specific joyful moments, of beauty and love.
Yeah, I'm keen to explore
And the
more of
Kai.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm keen
So-
to share a lot of this with people these days. Yeah, it just kind of breaks all the walls. You know, you have a conflict with someone, let's have a food together and then maybe we can talk over it. You know what I mean? It's much nicer to connect through that and see how we can.
Feels so much better.
Oh, absolutely. And how we can actually feel that we are connected through so many things and they are so simple as well. It doesn't need to be so ambiguous or too obscure or too kind of imaginary. It's tangible. It's here. We can feel it. We can nourish ourselves with that. And it's, to me, it's so simple and amazing and bring back that simplicity a little bit. We've been caught up when we say colonized ourselves, is colonized ourselves with all sorts of ideas and imaginary concepts, and we so feeling that it's us, it's what we are, but
that's belief systems.
It is.
Right?
It's not so much what we are, that intuition, that gut feeling, that, as you said, you can put many
Those
masks,
seeds.
but you see it.
I think
Yeah.
the seeds that have been planted through those belief systems is beliefs aren't yours, or you're thinking what's seeded in there, how you believe things to be is not real. It's not something that's tangible that you have to hold on to. If you have a belief within yourself that's not serving you, let it go. It's not yours. Somebody else planted it there. You need to find seeds that are going to serve you, that you can grow and get good yields from. This is a lot of what it's about. When we talk about seeding the whenua and seeding ourselves, and we go back to our being tangata whenua, we're all people of the land. We can come from different bloodlines, but because we eat the land, we breathe the land, we feel the land, we hear the land, that whenua, we are tangata whenua. So we come back and we that's all of our kai. That's all of what nourishes us. So it's being in the moment, and we're too distracted. We're sent to work, to slave for 9 to 5. We get 2 hours off. We have to cook kai. What kai are we going to have? What's going to be good for us today? All of this is when, if we take a step backwards and really just say, oh, okay, I have a glass of water, and just focus on what's happening in my body. What is my tinana after my body? What do I need right now? Not next week, not last week, not the belief system that was planted in primary school, that you must eat snack foods every 5 minutes, or you're hungry. The first sign of thirst is hunger, because your body's starving for hydrogen. 80% of your hydrogen comes from your food, as long as it's raw food, like lettuces. And when you look at that, we get a lot of water. When things are dehydrated, like carbohydrates, carbon requiring hydration, right, that have been processed and dehydrated, it takes our body into an acidic environment, because that's all about the percentage of hydrogen. So we're not getting that kai. And when you dry things up, we need to relate it to the soil, to our taiao, the layers, like you said. We've got our biome, which we can't see. We can see the soil. That's our nourishing, moist layer that keeps us flowing. When things are moist, they move, they flow, they gel together. When things dry up, they crack. There's no life. So that's a lot of what we've got to think about. And when we see our soil drying up, we know that we're drying up a little bit inside. At the moment, our biome's dying off a little bit because of the cold. Bacteria is affected by the temperature, by pH, the portion of hydrogen, by the light, and by the moisture level. So, all of these things at the moment are happening. We're getting more moisture, we're getting coldness, and people are getting more of their biome dying off. They might have a bit of a tummy upset, a bit of diarrhea. They might have a bit of a snotty nose, a bit of a cold, because the mucus is building up to protect them, because their biome's dying off. And then underneath that is the core of us. you know, and that's like the Papatūānuku as well. Her service is exactly that as well. So when we watch her and what's happening there, we can actually relate it to ourselves and know what we can nourish ourselves with.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I hope it allows many people to have some ideas and inspiration to be able to be in those places. You girls want to contribute something?
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think it's wonderful. I feel like, Wait a minute, Papatūānuku, do you want to say something? Is you know what I mean?
Something about
even Mother Nature is quite impressed by all of it, and she's like, I wish everyone would be having that knowledge, so we can kind of treat each other nicely, and also treat Mother Nature in a nicer way, with respect, with love and appreciation for what's coming out of it.
Notice I'm the talker.
You walk the talk as well, so that's really nice. Flo, maybe you can just kind of give me, I think you shared with me a bit of tea that you girls are doing, and as someone that is quite addicted to tea, I was quite impressed because I really loved it, and I also know that you girls are also getting all the stuff from New Zealand, of course, and it's grown here, and
so I'm super proud of these teas. We've been making those for a couple of months now, I think, and we're selling them at markets.
That's so cool.
And we did Spirit Fest. But yeah, we've harvested all the plants ourselves. Mostly, I think for both of us, actually, we kind of walk around the ngahere asking for something, and it just comes, or put the energy out, and then something presents itself. Like today I went on a hauhaki, a harvest mission at sunrise, and the one thing I was looking for just kept finding me everywhere. And it's, it's so funny when you become like really connected to the plants, they just want to give.
That's amazing.
It's all about intent.
Yeah, it's all about intent, and the intent with these teas is healing.
Yeah.
We have quite a range. This one's Modi, which is life force, with lots of really strengthening, energizing things. And we have a Manawa tea for the heart, which could be like both emotional and physical heart, and there's a hormonal balance one called a Haumanu. Yeah, so
beautiful.
Yeah, they're really liver. Yeah, kind of something for everything, and whatever someone's feeling or whatever they need. I think we have tea that can help, and we've been drinking these all the time too. I've been making them a lot, and just having my hands in all the plants just feels amazing. I feel like I've been absorbing all this incredible energy. Like I don't even have to drink the tea. I can just touch it. Just touch it, just like tear up all the leaves, and it's so nice.
Yeah, I'd love to see more things like that, obviously, in our communities, more stuff that people are passionate about something and they create it, they grow it, they share it. It would allow us to really tap into something that would be healing for ourselves. Obviously, teas are growing generations and generations all around the world, from the east to the west, as the most healing properties as well. So
it's about the connection. You know, when we make teas, we get together in a circle, and we have.
In some culture, is a lot more ceremonial in that regards. Obviously,
so we'd like to bring that back.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We're going to start doing some tea ceremonies,
wonderful.
Making them, and I think that.
I think the other thing is a lot of people don't realize how many amazing medicinal plants we have around us. We have no idea. We walk through the ngahere and we don't know what the trees are or what they can do for us. I mean, everyone kind of knows about kawakawa, and kawakawa is incredibly special, but there's so many more, and they all have incredible magic powers.
And that's what I want to see in curriculum in schools, for example.
Yes,
to learn what are they, to identify them, to find out, to make stuff with them, and to be able to heal ourselves.
We want to help with that. Yeah.
One of the biggest things with my first aid kit was that. So I started off talking about, at kura at school, they learn this is a tree. And then they learn to write tree with part of that tree. Yeah. They don't even know what that tree is. And we walk past our rako every day without even respecting them. They've been here for a lot longer than we have, and they provide everything for us. Our ear even.
Beautiful.
So we need to go, kia ora, hohiri.
Yeah. With
kia ora,
acknowledgement.
kawa kawa.
Yeah.
And so when I walk through the ngahiri, that's what I do. And I love it because they speak back to us.
Beautiful.
And that's Kai.
It
It's
is.
magic.
I agree.
Yeah, where the magic happens.
We are the magic, and I'm passionate as well about it myself, so I feel like absolutely. I want to wrap up stuff, and I want to give Kate a bit of a chance. She's the youngest of you all, and I feel like one of the things that I feel we will have to kind of put emphasis in our communities is to allow youth and young people to really kind of show up to the immense potential in which they bring. Of being young and often a lot more imaginary and a lot more daring than the older ones, because we have a lot more fear and a lot more restraints and who knows what. And I feel like, what can we do to bring young people to really kind of harness that amazing potential that they have in leading us to a better world, to understanding that we are part of nature, to understand that we can support one another?
Well, that was like our biggest ethos, is healing and making other pathways, what we were talking about before, and jumping into that, which I was going to jump in, but Mummy here loves talking. Sorry.
So cute.
But the concrete jungles with the seeds, we have so many people in the cities and apartment buildings, and I've grown up in the city where people just have a little balcony outside. So that was like one of our really first ideas, was the edible gardens, and allowing people to grow their own gardens while being in a concrete jungle, making alternative pathways. And then we kind of jumped into the teas, and then we kind of jumped into the education because, for me, just coming out of school, just kind of coming out of university and going through that pathway and having a mum and FLO as they are, which are so open-minded and they've lived their pathway, it was eye-opening going through the academia pathway that it's this way or you're kind of out of society. So what we really want to do is kind of create another path that it's like the academia isn't the only correct way. It isn't the only way, full stop. There are other pathways and there are other things that make you successful as well. So creating, like Mum said, with the education, educating people on nature and that, medicine and pharmaceuticals aren't your only option, because, I studied pharmacology and they aren't your only options. Plants can heal you too. And so it's educating people on, if you get stuck in the bush, well, you can actually survive. You're going to be fine. And creating that leadership, because, when you spoke about fear in older people, when you do get older, you do fear a little bit more. But in my generation, we've been taught to fear a lot of things now. We've been taught that sliding down a mountain and playgrounds are dangerous. If you break your arm, oh my goodness, it's scary, whereas when Mum was a kid, it was off you go, free range. Like if you break your arm, well, ouch, whereas now it's like, oh no, maybe a little baby and it's coddled.
We have a plant to heal that.
But, it's getting rid of that fear and getting back out into nature and back to being free range and coming up with alternative ways and that we can lead. And
that no cell in your body builds from pharmaceuticals.
That's
every
okay.
cell in your body builds from nature.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are part of it, right? That's what we're going to become eventually, regardless.
And sometimes you do need that little help,
Of
like
course.
Mum was saying, some people are born where they do need that
absolutely.
compromise and they do need that little help. But we have become reliant on pharmaceuticals and ignored what's out in nature, and it's like, well, actually that doesn't heal you, and now we've become reliant. So it's coming up with different pathways and different alternatives to it all.
Wowzers. I'm really kind of eager to kind of start looking at more things in depth and share more of these beautiful stories. And you can find more amazing details of Mārama Kai. You have a website, right? It's maramakai.co.nz. If you go to the About page, you can check out some information about those lovely female and what they do. And I'm really passionate about education. I feel like if we want to see a change in the world, it has to start with educating the youngsters, the ones that are going to be absorbing all this information with something that is going to be really fresh. It's going to be really connected to Mother Nature and really including that a lot more. So, man, I had such a great time talking to this lovely female, and I can go on and on and on and on. But in our, I think for now it's good. I'm going to revisit this conversation in a few months because that would be really interesting. I know you're only a few months in your little startup. I'm going to revisit you girls and find out how you're doing. You know, what's been happening, what's been implemented already. So no pressure, all right? So, but let's say in a few months' time, I'm going to say, hey, girls, you know, it's now February, summer, whatever. You've been doing that almost a year. What's been happening, okay? So no pressure over there. I want to thank those lovely ladies. Thank you, FLO, Bridget, Kate. It was really nice. And that's WAO number 5 and Issac here. And I look forward to seeing you again. Lots of love, and share your comments. And if you have any ideas and you want to know more, please let us know. Lots of love, guys and girls.
Aroha nui.
Aroha nui.